But tonight, I have the story of the King Storyteller for you. All right. A long time ago and far away, there was a king who was evil and cruel, and he liked to make people suffer for no reason at all. One day, he called upon his advisor, and he said, "Advisor, we're going to play a little game." And the advisor thought inside, "Yay!" But outwardly, he said, "Oh, wonderful, sire. What game are we going to play?" And the king said, "I am going to ask you 3 questions. For each question you get right, I will give you 1 bag of gold. For each question you get wrong, I will chop off your head." And the advisor thought to himself, "Awesome." But he said, "That sounds fabulous, Your Highness. And what are the questions?" So the king said, "All right, here are the 3 questions. How deep is the sea? How many stars are in the sky? And what am I thinking?" And the advisor thought to himself, "Yeah, I'm going to need to put my affairs in order." So he said, "Oh, Your Highness, those are fabulous questions. Could I please have a day to get you the best answers that I can and be able to answer your questions?" And the king, who liked to watch people squirm before he was horrible to them, said, "Sure, no problem. I will meet you back here this time tomorrow. Then you can give me your answers, and you'll either get the bags of gold or I'll cut off your head." So the advisor hurried out of the palace, making his way to his wife. He wanted to say his goodbyes to his wife and his children, and as he was hurrying along, he quite literally bumped into the King Storyteller. And the King Storyteller said, "Oh, advisor, are you okay? What's happening? Why are you going in such a hurry?" And so the advisor told him the whole thing, the game, the questions, the gold, the head, everything. And the storyteller said, "Oh, well, that's not a problem. If I were you, I'd know how to answer those questions." And the advisor said, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Can you tell me the answers to the questions?" And the storyteller said, No. If I were you, I could answer those questions." And the advisor got really annoyed. And he said, "Well, you're not me, so I'm going to go home and say goodbye to my wife and kids." And the storyteller said, No. If I were you, let's switch places and I'll go answer the questions for the king. Because you see, in those days, everybody wore these like cloaky things with big hoods. And the advisor and the storyteller are about the same height. So if they switched their cloaks, the king didn't pay enough attention to really notice which is which. So the advisor's like, "Seriously? You want to do that? You want to go and answer the king's questions knowing that he could cut off your head?" And the storyteller said, "Yeah, I'll do it." And the advisor's like, "You're crazy, but okay." So they switched robes. The advisor ran home, got his wife, kids, packed up their stuff, left the country, lived happily ever after. Next day, the King's Storyteller, wearing the advisor's robes, goes to the king, says, "Your Highness, I'm here to answer your questions." And the king says, "Yes, you are. All right. Question number 1. How deep is the sea?" And the storyteller said, "Well, it's a stone's throw." And the king's like, "What? What are you talking about? I could throw a stone from here across the room. The sea is way deeper than that." And the storyteller said, No. If I go out in a boat and I throw a stone over the side, it hits the bottom of the ocean. And the king knew that wasn't quite right, but he couldn't quite articulate how to explain that was wrong. So he said, "All right, I'll give you 1 bag of gold. Question number 2, Mr. Advisor," because he still thinks this is his advisor, doesn't realize it's the storyteller. "How many stars are in the sky?" And the storyteller said, "There are 11,957,656,112. And if you don't believe me, you can count them yourself." Now, the king had no idea how many stars were in the sky, and truthfully, the storyteller didn't either. He just made up a number, and so did I. But the king couldn't argue with that one either, because he didn't actually know. So it's like, all right, and he gives him the 2nd bag of gold, and he knows that the storyteller has to get, well, he thinks it's the advisor still, has to get this question wrong, because how he could say anything he wanted. So the king says, "All right, Mr. Advisor, 3rd and final question. What am I thinking? And the storyteller throws back his hood and says, you think I'm your advisor, but I'm really your storyteller. Grabs third bag gold, hightails it out of there, and goes and lives happily ever after.